And for more on this, I'm joined by Jonathan Kao from Shanghai. He's the Managing Director of Greater China at BCD Travel. Good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gerald.
Absolutely. So I have to start right there at cloud tourism, Jonathan. Is this just a fad to help us get through the pandemic, or do you see this trend developing as we move forward?
Yes, we're certainly seeing this developing. I think it will be for here to stay. I think that it's been around for some time, but during this time of the period where there is the advance of technology, increasing bandwidth, and also especially because of COVID, we're seeing things are really speeding up, and the overall experience is getting better and better.
So right now, Jonathan, many of these cloud experiences are free, but what do you think the potential is to monetize something like this? Would people pay to visit a place virtually, do you think?
Yes, I do think so. So I think that we were seeing that probably the first generation of cloud travel now, where companies and tourist attractions and even city or provincial tourism boards, they're using social media platforms to promote their branding and attraction. So I think certainly they need to look at how to recreate their business model online, where traditionally they would rely heavily on selling entry tickets to be profitable. So I think they need to be looking at how to generate revenue going forward.
But of course, many people might. Oh, sorry. Please continue, Jonathan.
I do think that people are interested to pay for the experience online, especially like attractions like the Forbidden City, where there's a large amount of information and also a lot of things to see. So people definitely, I think, are interested to revisit and potentially pay for that as well.
Right. But a virtual tour, presumably, Jonathan, will never be the same as going there in person.
Yeah, definitely. So I think for some aspects of travel, like food and local delicacies and outdoor scenic scenery, I think it is very hard to recreate online at the moment. But that is not to say it won't happen in future with all the talks about the multiverse and Web 3.0.
Right. And we're all talking about this pretty much because of the pandemic. And before all of this, Chinese travelers were among the biggest spenders around the world, just traveling all the continents. How has that loss of revenue affected the global tourism industry as a whole?
Yes, I think it is very challenging right now. If we look at the data from the last long weekend holiday, which is the May Golden Week, tourism trips were down at least 30%, and with in the past 2 months, all the major cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen all has been affected. So international trips are very scarce, and especially for the region, like countries and markets like in Asia, like Singapore, Japan, Thailand relies heavily on Chinese tourists. So I think it's they've been hit very hard, and it is very difficult for them, even though they're starting to open up now. However, without Chinese tourists, I would say that it's very challenging to be back to normal.
And how do you think we get out of this? Are we expecting a surge in travel once restrictions are fully lifted, or do you think recovery is going to be a lot more gradual?
I think that it will be gradual for China for the time being, looking at the zero COVID policy. However, if we look at some of the other markets like Hong Kong and Singapore, we're seeing a huge surge of activities where once the restrictions are eased or lifted, we see that, in Hong Kong, a lot of the things are happening, especially for business travel and also for VFR, visit friends and relatives type travel. That has been put on hold for the last 2 years, and now it's just booming.
And also now with China slowly, very slowly easing the testing requirements for those arriving in the country, what is the prospect of a return of international tourists to China?
Yeah, so we did actually see a good positive sign 2 days ago, where it was announced that the coming to China restrictions has been eased. So previous to this, it was a little bit stringent, but now we see that coming from the US and about 20 other countries are now more relaxed. For example, there's no more requirement for 7-day advanced PCR test, and the IgM antibody test and self-observation period was also scrapped. So we're seeing some positive steps towards that area. So I think that is the gradual process where we're building up to a full opening, I guess.
And I am looking forward to the day I get to revisit the country. Jonathan Kao is the Managing Director of Greater China at BCD Travel. We thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Gerald.